Today on The Grid, it's episode 507. We're showing a flipping amazing plugin that will blow your mind. And we got some very special guests joining us as well. Eric Kuna, the real man, can of ham, loves a can of spam, is here. We've got some news. We got some giveaways. And it all starts in just 24.2 seconds. Let's go!
The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the tripod alternative that is changing the world. Everybody has a Platypod. You should too. Go to platypod.com.
Bucks.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another live episode of The Grid. Scott Kelby here with the real man, the real rocket man, the can of ham, the human trailer hitch, Mr. Eric Kuna.
Hey, Scott, the human trailer hitch. I like that one.
That's good, right?
Yeah, the human trailer hitch. Yeah.
Well, we're glad to have you guys here. Of course, we missed last week because of the conference. Last week, we did the how to make money from your photography conference, which was awesome. It was a great conference.
People loved it.
People loved it, and there were so many neat ways photographers are making money. So it was great to be able to present that. It was very, very popular. Not surprising, right? Wow, a lot of photographers wanted to learn how to make money.
Yeah.
But hey, you know, one of my buddies made some money this weekend.
Awesome.
Selling his photography. You guys remember Paul Coburn, who was on the show?
Yeah.
Paul went to an art fair, and after all of everything, cleared over $2,000.
Wow.
Like just on
go.
selling prints at the art fair, and he's out there getting it done.
Yeah, but he's also putting in a bunch of effort to get those photos. So
yes, he is. He puts a lot of effort into making the photos and presenting the photos, and he has a nice tent and stuff and all. And they're doing more art shows. But man, you think about it. If after everything you can clear almost a couple of grand, you'd be like,
weekend,
oh, there's a new lens. Here comes my new lens. All right, lots of stuff to share today. First, I want to tell you guys, in just a couple of weeks, I am speaking in person again. Oh, I'm so excited. I swear, I'm so.
Yeah, we were just the optics one, and
right, the B&H one was the first one I got to speak at since 2019, and this was another one that was delayed by COVID. But the NECCC Photography Conference is coming up. It's up in New England. It's in Massachusetts. It's in Amherst. It's July 15th, 16th, and 17th. I'm teaching all kinds of classes. I'm doing Photoshop. I'm doing Lightroom. I'm talking about travel photography. I've got all these classes, but they've got like so many events. They do have, I hate to say this, perhaps the worst logo in the history of all logos.
Wow, that I thought I was looking at like Netscape for a second there.
Do not judge this conference based on this. Now, this is my first time speaking there, but I've talked to so many people who have spoken there in the past. I've talked to vendors. They love this show. They absolutely love it. And I had a friend of mine call me and say, you got to do this show. So when they invited me, I was actually absolutely thrilled. It gets a huge attendance. It's a big show. They have over 200 classes and events and photo walks and stuff. I mean, it's a absolutely jam-packed show, and this is its 75th year, so they've got a lot of history there, and I hope you'll come and join us. If you go to I believe it is neccphotoconference.com. Is that it? Oh no, just NECCC photoconference.org. You can sign up now. It's .org. You can go and sign up now. What this is, it's a conglomeration of all of these photo clubs in the New England area come together for this big event. So that's just coming up in a couple of weeks. So I'm very excited about that. What else is going on? I'm flying to Atlanta in a couple of days.
Wow.
Because my daughter is going to get to see her favorite band in the whole world. They are a Korean pop band.
Oh, cool!
And so Stray Kids is the name of them. And I've literally grown up with Stray Kids. And anyway, they're in concert in Atlanta, so I'm going to be flying up there with my daughter and my niece, and we're going to see the concert. And I want to see Terry White.
There you go.
So it's going to be a great.
When you go to Atlanta, you got to see Terry White.
You can't go to Atlanta without seeing. He's the #1. Do you know that Delta Airlines lists seeing Terry White as not the #1? It's the #3 reason people go to Atlanta. Yeah. So it's not #1. So you know he's working on it though. Anyway, what else we got? Oh, This just came. I just found out about this a couple of days ago, and I shared it on all my social. So you know Smug Mug, right? And I talked about Smug Mug extensively during that money making conference because if you're looking to sell prints, like they are the kings, right?
Yeah, that's what I use.
And I talked about all the reasons why they're particularly awesome in their space and why they make it so easy. Okay, so anyway, so they had done a series a while back ago where they featured different photographers, right?
Yeah.
And I got to be one of them. They featured me in one of them. They came out to a football game I was shooting, and they sent a camera crew. The guy that does their videos is unbelievable. He is incredible. He came to our offices here, and even our video guys were like, oh, yeah, this guy's, I mean, he's like a one-man Hollywood movie producer. Well, they just released a brand new series right now, and it's called This Lens. It's called This Lens, but it's all about... Yeah, well, there's my Facebook. That's my Facebook page. Anyway, but they're looking into these, and if I can find it,
it's basically like the whole looking at like how camera lenses capture memories. They change the perspectives of
how it changes your perspective and the world's perspective,
and then also that impact on people's lives. And that's the thing with photography. It is impactful.
So I want to show that video. Story. But I didn't tell the video team yet. I told Eric.
No, I think we do have it. I think
do we have the video? It's just like 1 minute. It's 1 minute, but but they have a whole series of these, and they're so well done and they're so well produced. If we can roll that 1 minute video, which is the one that I put on my Facebook page, let's see if we can run it here for you. And if nothing happens, then you'll know that we weren't ready. So let's see. It's either going to be a video now or me and Eric just looking blankly into the screen. Ready? Go.
We got it for the break.
Oh, okay. It's coming up. It's coming up on the break. All right. So that's good. What else?
Well, we got to talk about the prizes. We got prizes today.
I love prizes.
We got tons of prizes. So we're going to be giving away Boris FX optics. Obviously, we're going to be showing that a lot on the show today.
Yeah, so that's our guest today. Yeah. So Borifex is going to be here. Ross Shane and Colin Smith are going to be here, and they're going to be showing some of the stuff. And Eric's going to be showing some of the stuff because we've been talking about them for so long. Now you're going to actually get to see it.
Well, and what's cool about that, Scott, is tomorrow we'll be releasing a whole course on Boris.
That's right. Mr. Kuna did an entire course on this.
I love this software. I think it's great.
He does love it, and he's doing some cool stuff. He's doing very practical stuff. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Boris FX, I think what's cool about it is it's the only plugin that does the stuff that it does. Yes. Right? And you could argue that many of the plugins out there are all kind of doing...
Well, and you could do everything here in Photoshop.
Yeah, but you'd have to be
quick.
You have to be brilliant.
Easy. Yeah, you got to be brilliant.
You'd have to know.
Yes, you got to know it at a different level.
You'd have to be brilliant. You'd have to be a Colin Smith level person. To be able to do.
You'd have to be Scott Kelby of Photoshop,
because I mean it does explosions and lightning, and Eric's going to show you some really very practical stuff. Eric's going to show you something that's going to make Larry Grace, the president of the International Association for Aviation Photography, ISAP, International Society of Aviation Photography. It's going to make Larry's head explode. I hope he's watching.
Yeah.
But we have that.
So we're going to give away the Platypod multi-accessory kit. So we've got that as well. And then we're going to be giving away a book called the Lightroom Classic book. Right?
I love this book. It's so good.
Except for the author.
The author's a bit sketchy, but the book is phenomenal.
And then we're going to be giving away, that same author wrote this book on travel photography.
God, he's so prolific.
So we're going to be giving that away as well. And then we're going to give away, speaking of another effects plugin that I know you love, On One Effects. We're going to be giving that one away.
That's my finishing move right there.
The other thing we're giving away from V-Flat World, we're going to be giving away one V-Flat, and then also one dual board XL. Now these are for US only, so just know that when you're entering.
Yeah. Hey, I included those in my new book. I'm writing a book on all this lighting stuff, and I use their V-Flats in my book.
And the you can get everybody can win because everybody can get a discount on V-Flats. You can use that code Kelby10 at checkout, and you'll save 10%. So there you go. And so just to win the contest, or to win any of these prizes in the contest, leave us a comment, tell us what you want to win, and then we'll pick at the end of the show a winner. But then also tell us in the comment, where you're from. Also, if you have any questions that come up, let us know.
All right. So last week I'm talking to Eric and I'm like, all right, when I was in Prague, I kept having to go around to literally my students in the class and go, who's got a 72 millimeter ND? Because I only had a 77. And I needed to get a 72 and I didn't have one. And so luckily some folks had some and they let me borrow them. I didn't need it very often, but a couple times. So anyway, I'm telling Eric, yeah, I got to go buy a 72 ND. And Eric says, why don't you buy just a step down ring for your 77? I'm like, oh, well, yes, I could do that.
That'll be a lot cheaper.
They're so expensive. Here it is. It came in from B&H. It was $7.
Like, now you got a 72.
Now I got a 72.
And guess what? For $7 more, you can have a 67.
So
you can have a 54.
Screw it in, and you put your ND filter, your 77 on this little mount for the 72.
Now, that's usually why I tell people always buy your
big
ND
one.
the biggest, because you can't, stepping up, you're going to create vignettes and stuff.
Yeah, but stepping down, it covers the thing fully.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
anyway, thank
Cool.
you, Mr. Kuna.
Yeah, no problem.
$7. B&H.
All right.
All right, what else we got? We got we're going to show the Smug Mug thing. That's cool. All right, and we got some shout outs.
Yeah, we got people joining us all over. We got Virginia. Josh joining us from Virginia. James joining us from sunny Phoenix. We got Claudia from Canada. We got Mariana from the UK.
Hi, Mariana.
We got Stephen joining us from Panama City. Andrew from the UK. So we got people all over the world joining us.
And we're glad to have you here.
I hope they're all interested in learning some cool effects.
You know what though? This is the year of the plug-in. Right? Plugins are such an important part. I'm using more plugins now than I have in my entire life. And Eric said a really important thing earlier. Why am I wearing headphones? So
eventually you'll need them.
I will need them later. But Eric said something really important. Can you do this stuff in Photoshop? You can do anything.
Yep.
Anything in Photoshop if you have the skills, if you know the techniques, and you have the time. Right?
Yeah.
Now, or
you
can open a plugin and have it do it for you. And I'm at that stage of my life where I went through where I want to do it the hard way. I want to do it the 230 step way. And I would do it and I would go through whatever I needed to do and I would just do it. And now I just open it up and I'm like, I find that it not only does it give me more time to be creative, because when you're spending 100 steps, and there are techniques I've done that are 100 steps. I've taught techniques that were 100 steps, sadly. But it sucks the time out of being creative because you're doing a long series of production steps. Now, I would argue that there's a lot of the things that Boris FX does that I do not know how to do. Now, I know how to add contrast and clarity and all this kind of tonal stuff. I got all that stuff. But some of the stuff that they're doing, you would have to learn, I don't know how to make lightning.
You would have to really get really good at some of those effects.
Oh, Larry's on. We hyped it up. All right. So without further ado, and that was all the ado that we have.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Kuna, let's see if we can blow Larry's mind.
So the thing, honestly, when we're talking about Boris FX Optics or any plugin, right, we're, again, using that plugin to add an effect. Well, it can be as simple or as complex as you want. That's the thing, actually, that I love about Boris FX Optics. I think a lot of people look at it and they open it up and they're like, wow, this is overwhelming. And if I'm going through this stuff and it is overwhelming and you're like, I wish it was slower, we have, like I said, a whole class coming out tomorrow on Kelby One. You can sign up for free, get access to the class for free. It's one of our free classes, and you can learn all about Boris FX Optics. But here, let me just show you, what we can do, right? So, like, we can go as simple as just opening up optics and adding an effect to it. That's as simple as we can go.
Yep.
But we could do things like adding lens flares or glows. We can take and relight a scene and make a scene look a little bit more dynamic. Like Scott was talking about, we could add lightning into a scene or do stuff like that. We can do things like, and this is what I'm going to show you here, accentuate that afterburner, make the atmospherics look like we looked at before. Or I could take a Milky Way and like focus your eye kind of more in the middle, make it glow, where you're seeing that depth and dimension through relighting. Or then we could take something like this.
I saw
this go over this
on your Facebook page.
Yeah, we replaced the moon. We added a whole new background that was customizable, all inside of Boris FX Optics within a couple minutes. So it's not a really complex thing. So let's just go into this image here, right? So we've got the the jet, and we're going to make it look like that other shot. So all we're going to do is right click and hit edit in Boris FX Optics. This is what's great, is we can come right outside, right from Lightroom, right in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to edit a copy with my Lightroom adjustments. So I want to send Boris FX what I've done to this photo, right, in Lightroom.
Right.
And then I'm going to send it a TIFF. The reason I'm going to send it a TIFF is I want that TIFF file to have the layers in it when it comes back inside of Lightroom, so I can go in and re-edit. That's what's nice about
if you save
optics.
it as a TF PSD, it won't do that?
PSD it will too.
Okay.
But but you PSD or TIFF, you could do that. But if you were sending it a JPEG, it wouldn't be able to bring back
Right, so you got to send a TIFF for a PSD.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so we just got to send a TIFF PSD. Just don't send a JPEG.
Don't send it JPEG.
Right, so then it's going to open up in Optics. And I think this is what kind of freaks people out about Optics. They look at this and they're like, oh, what do I do, right? And like I said, we have that course. I went over every section what these things do. But this is what we can do quickly with it, right? Right? So the first thing with this image, I want to return this image to what I saw when I was shooting it, right? So I saw the afterburner through my viewfinder. I saw the fog and haze, but I had combated that with my settings. I had actually tried to freeze the jet, cut through that haze, underexpose, do all those techniques. So I want to bring back that atmospheric haze to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is just going to find that effect. So I want to add back in fog, right? It has got a really cool fog look to it, right? So when we add back in that fog, you can see I can go as heavy as I want, like really foggy, less foggy. I really like it in here.
That's nice fog.
But I want that fog to be just over the jet, because I'm adding that fog back to over the jet. I don't want it over the background. So all I'm going to do is go up here, hit my layer mask, and I'm going to go down to this easy mask. I love this easy mask inside there. Click on that easy mask, and then I am going to left click where I want to apply that effect. So green meaning go, or green go, green's going to show me. So I'm just loosely painting over the area where I want the fog, right? Then I'm going to right click and paint with red. I'm going to paint red where I want it to not apply that fog, right? And then I just hit this gear, and that gear generates a mask. And that mask, and now if I look at that, if I turn my overlays off right up here, I can see the fog is just over the jet, right? So I'm adding that fog or that atmosphere back to the jet really quickly. So one step, and that could be it. I could have just, now I could hit apply and go right back inside of Lightroom and I could be done. But I could take it a step further in Optics. I can come up here and I can go, I want to do something else. I want to add another layer. So I'm going to add another effect. So now the next thing I want to do is I wanted to really bring out that afterburner, right? So what do we do for that? Well, 2022 version has this really cool thing called particle illusions. And what particle illusions is it's these particles that basically they're all customizable in a timeline and editable to where you can get the exact moment. It's not just like one background. So when I was in here, I was looking at this image, I was like, you know, so I went into the complete, and in the complete, you can see they have all these different effects. Ooh. I mean, there's tons of them. So I just searched for jet, right? And I found this jet engine, right? And it is a afterburner, you know, jet engine, right? So we're going to take this, we're going to go over to the parameters. Now that we have this jet engine, I'm going to turn my overlay on. I can actually move this around, position it where, you know, I'd want it. I can come over here to the left, and I've got all these controls for that particle, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go here, and I'm going to tint this effect to kind of match the same tone that the afterburner that was in it had.
Very clever, Mr.
And that's
Kuna.
You always want to do that. You always want to add a little bit of the environment into that image. So the next thing I'm going to do is just going to come over here. I'm going to rotate this down. I'm going to maybe move it over into position. Then I'm going to maybe stretch that scale to match, right? I'm going to position it in there. Then what I can do is, like I said, this is all, it's all editable in that this isn't like I have to live with that moment in time. I can go over here to the life, and I can move this around. You can see the afterburners growing and shrinking based on the time. So I can just get it to match up perfectly with what I have in my own image as well and get it to that point. But I can even change like the size right there. I can change the velocity, all these things. We can even do weight. If you have things that have like gravity affecting them, you can use weight to really affect it. So again, it's all customizable. But now you might be saying, well, but it's over the back of the tail. Well, what do? We could just add a mask. So I could just paint on a mask if I want to. Just grab a brush and say, I just want it to be from the back of the plane and then down, right?
Right.
So now I've just got a mask and I've got it right over the top of it. So then if I was going to go disable that mask, again, if I right click there, you can see it's over the top of it. I enable it, it's gone, right? So now we've got the afterburner in there. We've got the fog in there. The other thing we can do with the afterburner, let's say it's a little too much. We've adjusted these settings. We can actually affect the opacity of that layer. So I can say, I want that layer, again, to be less or more opacity, right? So we can blend it in to exactly what we want.
The original, yeah.
Right. So now the next step, what do we want to do next, right? The other thing OptiX does really well, besides the particle illusions of color grading, I really love their lighting effects. And one of the lighting effects that we can do under light is this thing called light, right? And what it is it's these gobos, right? So it's actually putting like gobos between you and your subject and then casting light on the scene. I use this in landscapes in the opposite way of creating like shadows. I could put a branch over things and then have shadows, and I go over that in the class as well. But what we can do here is I was in here and I was like, well, I wonder if they have any clouds. And there's a cloud, right? So I grab the cloud. And then what I'm going to do is just come over here to the parameters. So once I pick what I want, I pick the preset, I come over into parameters, I can adjust this. So I can scale this up to cover. I can move it around. I can rotate this in any position that I want, right? And then all I have to do is then adjust, maybe I adjust that brightness down and maybe adjust just that layer down a little bit. But you can see if we look at that layer, it's just adding a lot of that, those cloud and textures that I would have seen with my eye. And then what we could do is we can compare it to the original. So if we come back here, we hit this key, and so if this is lit up, and then we hit the compare button right here, we can compare and see in just a few minutes, we added an afterburner, we added that fog, and we added all those cloud layers. And then all we do is just hit apply, right? That applies the effect. It sends it back into back into Lightroom, and then we can from Lightroom go right back into that file, open it back up, and keep on going with it if we want.
I'm just impressed that they actually had jet engines in there,
right,
like, waiting.
There's a lot of things.
When you type jet, you must have been like, "Oh my goodness!"
Like, oh my gosh!
You must have been like, "Come on!"
Yeah.
They knew Kuno was coming.
It is a huge time saver. Because that's the thing. We could do this stuff in Photoshop. I can do this stuff, but it's going to take me way longer and way more pain.
Yeah, Jesse says Boris Effects OptiX is a huge, in all caps, time saver for effects. Things that used to take me an hour in Photoshop, I can now pull off in a fraction of the time. And Susan says OptiX seems awesome. I can't wait to learn it. Glad there is a class. There tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow we're free class.
All right, we got to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to do more stuff. Of course, we have a couple of guests joining us. We're going to see more Boris Effects, but we've seen how the Kuno man uses it. Be interesting to see some other takes on it. So stick around. We've got a lot more coming up here today, live on the grid. Don't go away.
Hey everybody, Eric Kuna here with a new class for Kelby One, and it's on Boris Effects OptiX. Getting started with the program, we're going to talk about getting you up to speed with using Boris Effects OptiX 2022. Really excited about this. I've been using this program for a couple years now. This new version of it in 2022, a lot of new features. We can do all these Hollywood effects like lighting effects, color grading, particle effects, rendering effects, stylizations, lens distortions, lens flares, these effects that are really high quality visual effects that we can use on our photos. There's tons of presets that we can use. With these presets and these parameters, we can just with one click be able to apply a really high quality film stock or a high quality color grading effect to our photo. but we have that ability to then go in and tweak all these settings. So this is a great program because it could be as simple and as complex as you want it to be as a photographer. So if you want to learn about how to get started with Boris FX 2022, join me over here on my new class on kelby1.com.
The ones that I really love are them in their own world, and then I capture it. It's more than just taking a photo. It's like you're freezing the time.
My camera is an amplified voice. I can show their anger, their frustration, their sadness to thousands of people with my photos.
I'm trying to find that perfect arrangement of visual elements where nothing is wrong. That is my therapy, and that is the therapy I'm offering to others.
I just love that feeling of being lit up by something. And when I'm taking a photo that I'm really excited about, I'm just filled to the brim with that exact same feeling.
I have experienced the most beautiful things that our planet has to offer, and the perspective photography has given me is invaluable.
Travel photography is back. And the smartest thing you can do when it comes to traveling anywhere in the world, like Prague, is plan ahead.
Yeah, and Prague is an incredible location. I think it's one of the most special places, one of the most photogenic cities in all of Europe. And now that we're all back out traveling, I want to be your guide. I want to show you 21 amazing places to shoot in Prague. Now, I'm going to give you the locations, I'm going to give you the shooting tips, we're going to talk about camera gear, what time to go, what you need to know, what not to do, what to skip, all that kind of stuff. And I've got some amazing locations. I had a friend of mine who's a photo fixer, he lives in Prague. He helped me uncover these great locations, and now together we're going to share them with you. You're going to be able to come back with the most amazing pictures from your trip you've ever taken. You're going to make all of your friends and neighbors jealous. They're all going to want to go to Prague. Everyone's going to want to go to Prague after you see the amazing pictures that you'll be able to make there. So come and check out my brand new course. It's a photographer's guide to Prague, and it's exclusively at kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by B&H Photo, the professional source since 1973.
Hey, we are back. Scott here with Eric. Hey, we did find the name of the cinematographer who did that piece you just saw from SmugMug.
Yeah.
Anton Lorimer. An incredibly nice guy. What a talent that guy is. Like when I spent a couple of days with him, he was here at our offices. He was at a Tennessee game with me, Tennessee Vols game, and he works his butt off. I mean, you can see when you watch that little 1 minute, you're like, dude, he had to climb up there.
He's
like he had to be in
the places to do the right work.
Yeah, he's a filmmaker, right?
Yes.
They're called SmugMug Films. I mean, that's why that's his gig. All right, standing by, we have Ross Shane, and we've got Colin Smith. There they are. Hey, guys.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, welcome. All right, we are very excited to have you both here. You guys know what fans we are of Boris FX, and so Ross is standing by to answer questions. So if you have any questions, he's going to come on and do a demo too in a little bit. But he's standing by if you have any questions about the actual product itself or what it can or can't do. And Colin is here because he's a wizard at this stuff. He's the wizard. All right, so we're going to have Colin show us some wizarding stuff. So Colin, you're up. Let's go.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. And so Boris Effect Optics, I absolutely love it. So what I use it for a lot is I do composites. So here's a composite that I created, and then I'll use optics to kind of add the, fire and effects and coloring and smoke and atmosphere and kind of stuff like that. So let's jump into the one I'm going to be using today, and this is a Cyberpunk. It was inspired by the game Cyberpunk 2077, and I actually created this composite on Adobe Live, actually. So that's somewhere on the interwebs if you want to see the free tutorial. But essentially, there's different things we can do here, to just really finish it off and give it that something extra. And as the guys were saying earlier on, yeah, you could create some of these inside of Photoshop, but it would take forever. And the nice thing about the fact that this is very fast is it gives you that flexibility to experiment and try different things. All right, so why don't we jump in? And I'm actually going to be using Photoshop, and we're going to go under Filter here, and then we're going to use Boris FX and Optics 2022. Now, I've heard from some people that had Optics, and they said, oh, I didn't see particle illusion. That's because you got to click on Optics 2022 if you want to see that. So if you had that problem, that's the solution. Now, it always offers to apply the previous settings that you used. I'm going to say no in this case because we're going to recreate this. And why don't we just jump in? So the first thing that we're going to do is this kind of thing. See, I added this neon light here, and I kind of painted some light in, but I want to get more of a kind of a glow going from there. So under light, there's, if we go over here, and by the way, the ones with S means they actually came from Sapphire Effects, and these effects are actually from their video products, and you've seen them on movies and TV shows. They're industry standard. So I'm going to hit the Ultra Glow, and notice immediately we get this really cool glow on everything. And, you know, there's a million different presets. We could go in here and we can change absolutely anything that we want. But I don't want this to affect the entire image. I just want it to be coming from the top. So why don't we apply a gradient mask? So if we go over to the left, and you might not see this because the live badge is on the Facebook, but there's two buttons here. There's one for a layer and there's one here for a mask. So I'm going to tap on the mask and I'm going to choose a gradient. Now this gradient mask is really cool. In fact, I wish they would put something like this in Photoshop, because look at this. You can just rotate the mask.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. Right? Isn't that just so much easier? And then I can change the size of it just by dragging. And then we can drag it up. So it's like, hey, I just want a little bit of glow at the top. There we go. Nice and easy. And if you want to change the color, just tap on color here, and maybe we'll put a little bit more pink in there, give it a little extra punch. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and do something else. I'm just creating a new layer now. Now, this is one of the things I got super excited about, because I have spent half of my adult life creating HUDs and interface kind of elements. Is something I'm obsessed with. And now I don't have to spend half my life creating them because they're all here now. Mm-hmm. In fact, if you need a new logo for the grid, look, it's right there. So, you know, if we want something like that, I can grab, I don't know, this X-ray panel. This might be interesting. I don't really know what I was thinking here when I put this little creature in here. Something's happening. There's a story there. I'll let other people interpret it. Like most artists, you know, the critics actually tell you what the artist was thinking at the time. So we'll go here and we'll just add that. Now, the nice thing about this is if we look under the particle properties, this is not just a fixed image. This is actually part of an animation. So I could actually go through different frames here. And as I click through different frames, look at this. It will change. So, you know, if you can just keep going until you find one that you really like. So that's just kind of a fun thing there, working with those grids. I mean, I could spend all day. I have spent all day doing those. So the next thing I want to do here is I want to put some kind of, like the woman here, I want her to actually be teleporting into the scene. So, you know, because this is kind of a VR world. So why don't we do that? We're going to go into particle illusion. And one of the emitters we have here is the sci-fi ones. And the first one that appears is actually going to work quite nice. So we've got warp drive. And, you know, and as, you know, there's just tons of different presets you could go through, but we're not going to spend all the time doing that. So what I'm going to do here is, rather than changing the frame on this, I want to change the life. The life is kind of like a particle is born, you know, like if a spark will turn into a fire. So what I want to do is I'm going to take this back because it's too intense for what I want. So I'm going to take this life way back to where it's just starting to appear. And now if I drag this over a woman, now we get more of a, you know, she's kind of teleporting into the scene. Now, of course, you know, we could change everything about it, the size, you know, the opacity, all that kind of stuff. But why don't we just leave it like that? I think that looks kind of cool for 3 seconds work. And now we're going to go on. And I want to add a little atmosphere here. So why don't we add some smoke? So I'm just going to click on the smoke. And it's going to add some smoke. I'll drag that off to the right-hand side. And just to show you how quickly we can do this, why don't we duplicate that? So I'm right-clicking, and I'm going to choose Duplicate Layer. And that's going to give me a copy of it. Make sure you hit the edit. And then I can just drag the duplicate off to the other side. And then if I want to change the color of it, go into composite here, and we've got tint color. Let's add a blue in here. And boom, now the smoke is starting to match the scene. All right, a couple of other quick things we're going to do here. We have to have a lens flare. Apparently, J.J. Abrams has made a rule that you have to have a lens flare and everything. So let's go ahead with that. So what we want to do is we want to hit light. And under light, we can go into the lens flares. And these are just so cool because, I mean, if you've ever seen the default Photoshop lens flare, you're allowed to use it once in your career, right?
Never.
You know,
right? It's like a trademark stamp. You might as well wrote, right, this was added in Photoshop.
Yeah,
exactly, exactly. So, you know, it's fun to be used once, but look at these kind of different ones we've got here. We've got all kinds of lens flares. So I'm just going to position this. And that's another thing I wish I could do in Photoshop is actually just easily drag that lens flare without having to put it on black and change the blending mode.
Right.
You know, the trick. All right. So I don't want this lens flare in front of him. I want it behind him. So we're going to use the masking here once again. So let's just tap on the mask here, and we're going to use this easy mask that Eric demoed earlier on. And this is really cool. One of the things, too, about this is you can actually use Photoshop masks in here, or you can actually bring these masks into Photoshop. So you have the ability to do that. And this is a good quick mask. It works quite nicely. And let's apply it. So it looks like it's the opposite of what we want. We just hit the invert button. And there we go. Now we can see there's our lens flare now is behind our person, which is really kind of fun. All right. Let's add another thing. So I'm going to create another layer. And I don't know how much time I have. I don't want to take up all the time. So I'm just going to do maybe one more effect here. And let's go back to particle illusion. And under the sampler, this has like all kinds of different ones. Oh, by the way, you can favorite these if you find it hard to find these. You can just add a little favorite, that little star there, and it will appear in the favorites panel. All right. So anyway, let's add this to this thing here. I think this is kind of fun. And so we want something happening with this little creature in here, because apparently that's part of our story. So let's go here, and we're going to take the opacity down a little bit because it's a little much. And then I also want to change the size of this. So let's go under the master scale, drop it down. So it's just kind of fitting in here. And it's still a little much. Let's take the opacity back. Oh, by the way, these things you can tap on here, and you can type in the number you want. So if I want, say, 40%, let's just do that. Type that in. See how that looks? It's pretty good. The other thing, too, of course, is you can change the opacity up here if you want, and the blend mode, just like you would in Photoshop for each layer. And then to finish this off, we can put a color effect on here, because this is one of the things it does really well. So if we go under color, and then we choose color correct, this is one of the things that I actually got super excited when Ross first contacted me. Was we've got these movie looks. I don't know about you, I love movies. And
I hate movies. They're the worst. They're the worst. No, I'm a big movie fan. Big fan.
Yeah, and they've got some great movie effects.
Yeah. So, you know, we've got Blade Runner, Close Encounters, E.T., you know, all these different ones. Or the other one that photographers love is the Film Lab, and these emulate films. But one of the things I love is the vintage one, where we can actually get it's kind of like a gradient or a dual kind of color.
Yeah.
And it really take over the image. It's really neat. But one of the things I like to do with it is maybe drop it back to about a 50% opacity and then blend it in with the other colors that I created. And then if you look at this, this is before and after. By the way, any of these, if you just hit that little lightning bolt, you can turn on or off any of these effects. And then you can edit any layer, even the layers you're not even currently selected. You just click the little edit thing. But anyway, that's all I've got today. I'm just going to hit apply, and that's going to apply that to my image in Photoshop, and here we go.
Dang, that was cool.
Yeah.
Hey, really so Colin, can I ask you to do one more thing that you did briefly earlier, and I just thought it was cool. You were showing different layers with different effects applied.
Yeah.
Can you show those again?
Sure.
Yeah, I just thought it was I was like, you went by them so fast. I'm like, ooh.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go in here. Actually, let me select an unedited one because that might double the effect. It might look weird. Let's go under here and let's see. Now we get to test the apply last filters and see if it works. So we hit yes, and there we go. Yes, it does work. Okay, so this is kind of cool. Let me drag this down a little bit just so, you know, the badge on Facebook doesn't cover this up. So
we can't see that, so you're all good. We can't see that.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, great. Okay. All right, so yeah, so we've got these little things here. So any layer, like for example, if I want to view more than one at a time, I can hit this little screen and I can stack these on top of each other. And this is actually showing just that particular layer that I'm selecting. So each layer can be viewed independently. Or, you know, I can take the effects off. So say I don't want the smoke or I don't want the sci-fi or the HUD. I can turn those off. And even when I'm working up here on the color, like say I wanted to edit something else like the smoke, I can actually just hit the edit button here and I can start to just, you know, I can edit different layers by just simply hitting that little edit button. So it's kind of interesting. A little bit different in Photoshop, but it once you get used to it, it's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. You know, I don't do this kind of stuff that you're doing, but just seeing your stuff inspires me. It's like, now I want to
really
go
cool.
do it. That was great, Colin. Thank you very much. That was awesome.
Thanks, Scott.
We've got a couple of comments coming in for you both, and I'll just, the first one is from Vincent here. It's for the Boris guys.
Yeah, so they're asking, the Boris universe seems vast. How do you keep from being overwhelmed with so many features? It's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good question. You guys can hear me, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks. First of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Love the show, and super psyched about Eric's new training series. But yeah, Boris FX, we've been around for almost 25 years. We're pretty much the first plugin company, you know, on the map. You know, we're the first plugin company making plugins for Premiere, for Avid back in the days when Avid was like the main video editing system. And, you know, our products have definitely expanded through acquisitions over the years. You know, getting back to the question itself, it is tricky because we do have multiple products, and each of those products have over 300 filters inside them. So, you know, I think we're trying harder to sort of show the products for what they are and the differences between a product like Sapphire and Continuum and Optics. As far as, you know, if you're a photographer, Optics is pretty much the product that you want to be using. Optics is really our only product that is 100% focused on the photo world. How's that for an answer?
That's good. Well, wow. You know what? It's funny because I'm seeing things I've never seen before today.
Well, and I think to even like as a photographer who's using it, I think what you start realizing with Optics is there's things that it does so much better than Photoshop or other things quicker. You know, like we talked about, and I talked about in the beginning, I think the lighting effects are incredible. I think the color effects, like the color grading
stuff is phenomenal.
And the film effects are amazing. And now with this particle illusions, being able to, as a photographer, quickly go in, add something to my composition that looks very real, believable, is amazing. To be able to do that without having those Photoshop skills and knowledge.
Oh yeah, no, that's huge. Marianne says, "Okay, I'm sold. Boris FX, you guys are the best." Stuart, go ahead. Go ahead, Ross.
No, I think what's kind of interesting is, like, for us as a, you know, primarily a plugin developer over the years, is what we've always done is, you know, we work very closely with all the different host applications, whether it's, you know, After Effects, Premiere, like I said, Avid, or Photoshop and Lightroom. And our goal really is to kind of like look at those hosts and to kind of say, well, what value can we add? Can we take something that might take you as a user like 10 clicks and lots of stacking up of effects, and can we combine that into one sort of nice filter? And that's I think that's what you're seeing in Optics. You know, you'll see something like the film stocks that Colin was showing. You know, that film stocks effect alone, it's kind of like color correction, grain, you know, it's really like stacking many different filters or processes from Photoshop or Lightroom into one. So I think that's the value that you really see. And then beyond that, yeah, all the fun stuff like the particle illusion and the lighting effects, which is really sort of our bread and butter specialty stuff.
Wow, it's phenomenal, and that's the comments we're seeing here in the chat. Hey, we got to take a break, but stick around because you're going to show us some stuff, Ross. You got some stuff coming up for us. All right, stick around, Colin. Thank you though. That was great. That was cool as Well, it's just very cool.
Cool.
It was cool.
Thanks for having me.
As Eric would say, or that was cool. No, that was really great. Very inspiring. And you're using it in such neat ways on really, I want to go make images like that now. So, well done.
Fun.
Well done, you. All right, we're going to take a short pause. The guys will be back with us here in just a moment. Don't go away.
Hey Kelby One members, we're back with another class, and this class is all about demystifying panos and time lapses. We're out here at the Superstition Mountains in Arizona. This is going to be a basic class on how you can get up to speed. We're going to introduce concepts to you on how to scout for panos and time lapses. We're going to talk about gear we need for all this stuff, and then we're going to go through different scenarios. We're going to shoot panos with multiple images where we're going to go all across the scene, showing the vastness of the landscape or the vastness of the Milky Way. And then we're going to do other things like time lapses, where we can show motion in the clouds and the sun rising, even going from night to day, and all done very easy, where we can work up to more advanced techniques. But this is definitely something where we're going to be focused on the basics. So join me at my new class on kelby1.com.
Hey guys, I'm Tuvi, and I'm going to show you two really cool products that we at VFlat World sell. So the first one is our Duo boards, which are double-sided, hyper-realistic backdrops for food and product photographers. They come in two sizes. This is the larger side. We have all different types of textures and designs. These are some of the new ones that came out recently, and they also, there's a bag option available for them. And our other product, which is what we actually started the company with, it's called a V-Flat. It's a foldable V-Flat, and it's used for portrait and studio photographers to control light on their subjects, to either add light with the white side or use the black side to subtract light, or even block like an unwanted window light coming in.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Canon.
Specialty.
Oh, fun.
Hey, we are back. We got some great comments. One from Kathy Bateson, and it's just a very simple, quick one. And I know many of you know Kathy. She is an international superstar, destination wedding photographer extraordinaire from Ireland. She says, simply, Colin is awesome. So there you go. Oh, hey, Kathy, don't forget, Kathy, Team Epic is meeting in August.
Yeah.
Team Epic is having a meetup in August. So just so you'll know, because she's part of Team Epic. All right. Stuart says, even if you don't win the copy of Optics, you'll be amazed at how affordable it is. And he says, Kelby members get a discount. Yeah. Thank you, Stuart. Stuart doesn't work for us, by the way. Thank you, Stuart. Way to go. 5 points. Mark Rossman says, simply, it's magic. And Joe says, Optics has great effects. So thank you guys for those comments. We do appreciate them. Barb says, I cannot wait for Eric's class. I need a month off from work just to catch up on all these great classes being offered. Yeah. Well, that's cool, Barb. Thank you. Hey, going back to what we were talking about this on the break, going back what that gentleman asked earlier, was, how do you keep up with the vastness of this? Is favorites. So when you need to get the job done, you can go to your favorites. But when you have time to explore, that's when you add more things to your favorites. Right? That's where you learn about new things. And because we, as photographers, we sometimes run a deadline
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to get stuff done, and we're going to go to our favorites. And then there's those days, those Saturday mornings when you have nothing to do. And
Yeah, that's
like,
what I
I'm
do
just
instead
gonna
of watching
dive in and have
watching
fun.
a program or a TV show and all this, spending hours watching a movie. I spend hours clicking around on effects.
Yep. But
Find
but
new
Colin,
effects.
while Eric is doing that, I'm watching movies.
Yes.
And then Eric tells me later how to do it.
Yeah,
So
how to
that's-
apply that effect in Boris Effects.
Yeah, I can just call up Eric and say, Eric, how do you do that thing that you did? And he'll just go, I'll go under here, go under there. And I'm like, okay, thanks. All right, so we're going to turn things over to Ross. Ross is going to show us is going to uncork more of this genie that is Boris Effects. All right, so here I'm going to pass the mic with love from DJ Cassidy over to you.
All right, guys. Well, again, thanks a lot for having me. Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen a little bit and talk a little bit more about optics. To that point, you guys were just mentioning about saving favorites. Yeah, definitely a great tip. And I would say that Colin did a really nice tutorial recently on his YouTube channel, which shows not only saving favorites, but he actually shows how you can use optics elements and then just create your own Photoshop library using the Adobe libraries. So there's so many ways to work with this tool. So here I am in Photoshop. I'm just going to show you some of the images that I created for the Optics 2022 launch. And I'll just step through a couple before and afters. Again, some of the stuff might look like big Hollywood effects, but like Eric showed, or there's lots of ways you can use optics just for color correction and kind of simple stuff. So don't feel like you have to get into like these big splashy effects. For example, here is a before and here's an after. Again, this like all this smoke and flames that was created totally in optics, no overlays, no 3D rendering. Here's another example, kind of like a wedding shot. I just wanted to make this a little bigger and more epic and kind of ended up going with something like that. So this watery splashy effect and chromatic aberrations, a little bit of light leaks, some really fun stuff. And of course, here's our typical day for night. So here's the day and here's our night, which we added some lightning effects and some rain and little splashes using the particle illusion stuff. A before and an after with just kind of adding some different. Oh,
that's nice.
Yeah, and that was fun. I know a lot of people play with like the Photoshop AI tools, which are like replacing the sky and that kind of stuff. Optics is not AI. Our philosophy is kind of different. It's more like we're giving you the tools that you design it yourself, because we don't really like. I find with a lot of those like sky replacement stuff, it's like the same sky over and over again. It might take more time to build the sky in optics, but you can do some really, really cool stuff once you have a handle on the particles and the clouds. Here's an example, just like a product shot. Here's a before, and I just kind of wanted to kind of do something a little bit different. So I added a lot of lighting and particles, but there's actually some really nice warp effects, like these wavy, glassy warp effects, which are found in Optics 2022. That was new.
All right, hey Ross, can you undo that real quick?
Yeah.
Because I want to show people the demand for photographers that can do this. A lot of people can do this, but where you actually make the money, reveal that next layer, is for stuff like this.
Yeah.
Because that's where people are like, I want the guy that did this. Because if you're looking at a bunch of photographers shooting products and you're looking at the before picture,
yeah.
Anybody can do the before picture. I can do it. Eric can do it. But it is the creativity, though. I have to give you a little extra credit there. The creativity is also cool. But to do this type of next level stuff is where people get paid.
Yeah, and it takes a great photograph and then great processing.
Yep.
Great,
start with the good photograph is always the starting place. But the first one was like very easy to make, and the second one looks like magic.
Yeah, for me, what I like about the optics sort of interface, and obviously I've helped design the product, so I know it very intimately. But for me, it's really like a creative playground, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with this shot. I just knew I wanted to do something cool. So I ended up creating the background and just to kind of like exploring and that kind of thing. And I will show you a little bit about my process for creating. Just a couple other quick examples. That's kind of typical sort of like big movie effect, kind of with a witchy lightning and stuff like that. I also like to, I have a background in graphic design, so I actually like to use optics also for text, and for this kind of stuff. And I know a lot of Photoshop users use Photoshop for design, you know, for web design, for print, for that kind of stuff, movie posters, that kind of stuff. Let's see, a couple last ones. There's a dancer that kind of made something a little bit more epic.
Yeah.
You know,
that reminds me of like a Corey Barker type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Corey does a lot of cool stuff like that, but he does it manually with brushes.
Yeah.
So let's get into it a little bit. Here's a before, and I'm just going to show you what I did with optics. And someone on the chat actually asked for an animal photo, so this is going to be like less of a Hollywood-style photo and more of just like making this a little bit more look nice. So here's the after that I came up with. So again, here's the before, here's the after, and then here on my top layer, I actually added a tiny little bit of catch light. You know, that's a Scott Kelby tip, right? But so what I'm going to do is kind of get in here and just start and just do this from scratch. I'm probably not going to do the same exact thing and not going to cover everything, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this layer a smart object. And the reason I like to do that is I can go bounce back and forth between Photoshop and optics really easily. I'm going to go to my filter tab and apply optics. And I'm not going to apply the previous masks. I'm going to say no, because I just kind of want our default look and everything like that. Or, you know, this is how you first come to optics. And yeah, maybe the first thing I'm going to do is under the color correction. Eric, you mentioned this, and I think it's actually a really cool tip. And I know you covered a lot in your class. This haze effect. It's just a really cool way to kind of like do the dehaze.
So I can sort of like mucking it up.
And I like to maybe a little kind of, it's kind of like taking out a little bit of the gray levels, you know, and nice thing about these presets is you're kind of just from 1 to 2 to 3, you're just like adding more of the effect. All right, so I'll use haze 2. That's kind of cool. I'm just going to add a new layer. And next thing I want to do is add maybe a little light effect. So I'm going to go to the light category, and I'm going to add our friend the light leaks. Right, but I do recommend, there's 170 effects, and each of the effects have multiple presets. So, if you have the time, it's just go through. That's glint, that's highlight, that's edge raise.
That one right there. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what though? When you clicked on that earlier one, the first one you clicked on,
the light leak.
Yeah, the light leak, which I really love that particular look.
Yep.
But you're 2 clicks in, and look how much better it looks. It's
right.
like
That's the thing.
It's 2
like
clicks
quick.
in, and the thing looks night and day from where you started.
And that's as simple as it has to be. It can be that simple, where you just
doesn't
go
have to
in and go that and hit apply.
Yeah, you don't have to dig
or it can be
into
as
everything.
complex as you want it to
But
be.
I do love space ox. Is that an ox? What is that?
I don't know what it is. It's a bull or something.
You know what's bad? We really don't know what animal it is. This is the failure of our school system here.
Yes.
Is that none of us know actually it's just an animal with horns.
All right, so you can sort of see I'm just kind of editing this light leak. I went from the default preset, but like you guys were mentioning, if I like this effect, I'm just going to star it, and then it shows up there. Or I could even go like this, and I could say, hey, this is not the default hot pink. This is Ross's pink leak, right-hand side of the screen. Okay, that now it shows up there. Give that a favorite as well. It's going to always show up here in my favorites. So just being smart about the way you deal with presets.
Do we have to name it Ross's?
Yes, you have to.
Oh,
That's part of our EULA agreement. All right, so I created a light leak. That's cool. Let's just add a new layer. Okay, and now I'm going to go to our friends, the particle illusion, because I want to add a little bit of atmosphere. The very first time you use this, I do recommend just going all the way to the left to PI complete. And this is basically like every single particle emitter that's in the particle illusion category. There's actually 1,700. So it is quite a lot. You'll see it does take a second to update. But why I like to apply the complete is then I could go either here to the subsections and find there's the space stuff, or there's the HUDs that Colin was showing earlier. But if I apply the complete, then I can search the entire library. So if I look at smoke, it will show me all the smoke. If I look at flares, it will show me different flares. If I show dust, there's different dust. So you just it's a really nice search system. So one of the effects I really like for atmosphere, it's called Seeds and Clouds. So this one right here, Seeds and Clouds. So I'll just apply that and just look at that really quickly. It's really cool. It's applying smoke and like little dandelion kind of like seeds. And the thing about particle illusion that's really cool in optics is there is a time category. And I know a lot of people just like to apply the presets, but if you go into the parameters, that's how you can really customize. So number one is the time category. Just think of this as almost like a timeline, and that seeds effect can animate. So I can find like a different frame. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I'm going to move this over to the side a little bit just with this on-screen HUD here. And let's put it over there. Okay, I like that. That's pretty cool. Now in the particle properties, this is where you can change things like the number, so maybe a little bit less. I can change the size, and that's going to change the size of the individual particles. I can change the weight, and that will change if they float up or if they go down. So all, you know, the gravity of the particles, all kinds of really, really cool things. And then you can sort of, again, you can save that as a preset. I love to combine that that light leak with the little bit of dust. You know, it's just like a really cool tip. Maybe I'll add another layer and just kind of like complete this. You know, again, my example had some more, but I'm going to go into the.
Oh no, I like where this is going.
Oh, cool. Actually, here's a good one, and maybe to kind of build off some of the stuff that Eric and Colin mentioned. We mentioned the masking in easy masks. I'm not going to easy mask this shot, but I do know that I was able to create a really, really nice mask, even though there's all this intricate hair. You know, the easy mask did an excellent job of that. But what I'm going to do is kind of show you a kind of neat way you can sort of start playing with optics is in the light category, I'm going to add an effect. This is one of my personal favorites. I don't know why I like it. It's called Glow Darks. And essentially it will glow. It'll kind of like do the reverse of a glow. It's kind of like adding a little bit of darkness, right? And I'm using this beauty pass filter, and I'm going to bring down the opacity just a little bit on this layer. But then I actually want to just paint this in, and I know a lot of Photoshop users like to do this. I'm going to go to my mask tool here, and let's add a paint mask, and then I'll make the brush bigger with the bracket key. And I can just sort of like, let's just add this little fur, maybe just kind of a little bit of richness in here. Maybe not so much, but you'll kind of see what I'm doing. It's just adding a little to the darks. And then I could soften that mask, maybe soften it a lot. And so you're basically, you know, there's my mask, there's my layer, just a tiny touch of little glow darks, but you can really have some kind of fun with it, you know.
Yeah, hey Ross. Yeah. You know, I got to tell you, the more I look at this, the more I think that's a Highlands cattle cow. That actually comes from Anders Grooveman, which obviously he's not from America, so he knows things.
Nice.
So he probably had to actually go to a school where they taught things like that. They like don't. The Highlands cow. They just go, if it's horns, it's a steer. Yeah. But anyway, thank you, Andres.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see, but I actually did a little reshaping of his face and gave him a little bit of a smirk in Photoshop.
Oh yeah, I tell you what, if you want a Highlands cattle cow, you want it to be a little sassy.
Yeah, a little sassy.
Yeah, little sassy, absolutely. Hey, I've got some comments and questions if you've got a second. First, Dave says, I have Boris Optics 22 and I love it. Alex says, I am blown away by Boris FX. Fantastic. Tim says, my mind is officially blown. And Jerry says, are there optics tools that would be beneficial for architectural photography, so for architectural firms?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I just think of like interior photo shots. There's lots of like people are adding light. They're at, you know, there's like the rays, you know, and stuff like that. There's sharpen tools. There's lots and lots of tools that you know might be applicable.
Anything that you would do to the sky as well, all the color tinting, all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
So for some reason, I'm getting a message from our control room that we lost your camera. Like
we lost my camera.
Like your camera. Like we see your screen.
Okay, let me just
But we've
turn the camera on and
off. And we
got
to take a break, unfortunately, because we're actually now 4.5 minutes over. But we're going to take a break. Stick around for just a second, and hopefully you can get your screen back up. Can you show us one more thing before you go after the break?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's take a short break, and we'll come right back. Don't go away. We're going to see one last cool thing before we go. We also have our winners for our prizes. That's all coming up in just a second. Don't go away. We'll be right back here on The Grid. Don't go away.
All right, guys, especially those of you who watch The Grid know, one of my secret weapons for editing is to jump from Lightroom over to On1 Effects 2022. All right, it's got so many cool things. It is my finishing move for all of my editing. Now, I put together a class because I know so many of you already have it or you're thinking about getting it. I put together a class that takes you from beginning to end. So if you're new to On1 Effects, let me unlock the stuff in there. There is such neat, wild, cool stuff. And a lot of stuff, like always, is kind of hidden. But once you know these things, you're like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I go through all that. I start from scratch. I show you how to open images, how to go back and forth. I show you some little hidden, neat, little secret things that I'm telling you, it's gonna change the way you work. It's gonna change the way your images are gonna look. You're gonna love how they look. And you're going to find it all exclusively in my brand new class over at Kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the world's most compact tripod base.
Hey, we are back. We got some giveaways. Let's get to those first, and then we're going to see Ross has got one more thing to show us before we go. So
yeah, we got a bunch of giveaways here. Let's go through this laundry list. So we're giving away a copy of Boris FX Optics. So Barry Morris, you won the Boris FX Optics, and then the Platypod multi-accessory kit is going to Rivaz Mabdani, and then we have the Lightroom Classic book going to Richard Windsor. Then the travel photography books going to Ramona Janes. And then we have the On1 Effects 2022 going to Edith Pardron Ayaya. Sir, that's it. And then the V-flats, the V-flat is going to Terry Smith. And then the On1 Duo Board XL is going to Gordon Smith. So there we go. So if you want to just email us over at gridprize@kelby1.com, we verify your information and then send you out your prize.
Don't forget, you can also get a discount on the V-flats. You can use the code Kelby10 at checkout. And they are fantastic. We use them in our own studios. I included them in my new book. I'm working on a book right now, and I'm like, well, not quite halfway through, but close. And it's all on lighting. Well, it's the newest, completed, updated version of my Light It, Shoot It, Retouch It book. But I'm using Flash instead of Studio. So it's all off-camera Flash and that. Hey, Mark Rossman gets the comment of the day. Mark says, this software is moving me. Wow. And one of the greatest guys in the world, Rick Salmon, says, hi, everybody. Rick Salmon. Hey, I might get to see Rick when I'm up at that NECCC, I'm trying to work my way up to Rick's house.
There you go.
Because Rick's house is the epicenter of music and love for New York. And so I'm going to be in
the crew was just
Massachusetts.
up there.
I should be able to get to Rick's house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got to rent a car, you know.
You have to rent a car. You have to drive.
I just charge it
a
to
little bit.
Rick's royalties. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ross. All right, you got one more for us before we go?
Yeah. Definitely.
All right, let's see. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll keep it really quick. But
no, don't worry about keeping it quick. It's okay.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone for hanging in there with us. Again, Eric's course on optics is awesome, and it's going to be coming out tomorrow. So I really encourage you guys to check that out. But here, I'm in Photoshop here, and 4th of July is coming up. So I'm going to share just a cool image that I played with. This photo is actually a photographer named Vanessa Joy, who's a wedding photographer.
Oh yeah,
You
we
might
know
her.
Vanessa. She's great.
So this is her photo. I just want to give her full credit and everything. And so here's the after that I did with it. Hopefully you can see I added a bunch of fireworks in optics. So let's show you how I did that. And I'm going to show you one cool tip as well. Is on this layer I actually have a layer mask, because one of the things people asked us when we first shipped optics was they wanted to support alpha or mask channels. So now I can actually create elements in optics, bring them back to Photoshop with its mask. This is the way you're going to do it, is add a mask. So let's go ahead and just apply optics. And we're obviously going to play with some fireworks. So let's go ahead and, as soon as my interface, okay. So what I'm going to do is go to my particle illusion tab. And we do have a fireworks section here. So let's go PI fireworks. We'll add a firework. Let's scroll through some of these presets. And this will kind of also show you a little bit more about how these emitters work. Okay, let's add this fireworks burst here. And let's put this up here. Now, again, you have this time, and you'll really see that this time parameter, it really does affect different emitters. So that's a burst effect that literally is going from bursting, then you start drifting down a little bit. So maybe something like this. And now if I go to the particle properties here, the life parameter is pretty cool, because that kind of will show you like how it's sort of like dramatic it's going to go, like how much distance it's going to fall across the screen in time. Again, you do have this weight, which is kind of cool. Okay, so say I like that kind of particle. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I want to bring this back to Photoshop. So I want to bring this back with an alpha channel. It's kind of a quick tip, but if I go to the composite menu here, I can actually composite this not with on its own image, but say composite with nothing. And then I just have my firework on black. If I touch the A key, you'll see there is the alpha channel. So I'm going to add just I'll duplicate this. And let's just change it to a different particle, like maybe one of these kind of fun emitters. Let's go ahead and change. I'm going to reset it so it's like this. And maybe I want to just make a burst like, again, I'll change the life parameter. I'll change the scale parameter. And the very last thing we're going to do here is I'm going to make the number a lot lower. So I'm going to make the number like, let's just make it like 2, see what happens. Oop, not 200, 2. Somewhere it's going to show up. Oh, maybe I need more than that. Sorry about that. Let's just reset that and make it like 50. Okay, that's good enough, and then we'll scale that up. But it's kind of like creating sort of like this firework is going in that particular direction. You know, this is kind of this kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, I mean, I could play with that a lot longer, but that's, you know, you get the idea. This is kind of like that's motivating the firework. Maybe let's just add one more just for the heck of it.
Highly motivated.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But the cool thing here again, so fireworks, and let's just add like a different burst. Yeah, maybe one of these. Something like that, right? The cool thing is, because I've already set it up with that alpha channel trick, which was done in the first one, that carries through to all 3 of them, which is kind of a neat thing. and then I'll hit apply. And what you're going to do is you're basically going to get, as soon as it renders it back to Photoshop, you have your element with alpha, you know, which is kind of cool. Like, look at that. That's basically a comp element.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So what I was mentioning about the libraries is you might even like, hey, I'm going to take this and drag it up to my library, my Photoshop library. So then you can just apply that. And it is a really great trick because a lot of these particles, you can screen them as a screen type of comp, but having the actual alpha, it's kind of like, because within one particle, there's lots of levels of transparency, if that makes sense. So this is a really great trick to create your own custom fireworks.
All right. Well, thank you so much for showing that, Ross. Jay says this is also very cool. Hi, Jay. And Barry says, really cool effect. And Rick Salmon says, Scott, you can rent a rowboat and row up the Hudson River.
So there you go.
Probably not. Probably just going to rent a car, Rick. So it's just, look for me on the highway. Maybe. All right. Look for me on the Long Island Expressway, even though I'm not going to Long Island. Anyway, wow, that was great. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Colin, very much for showing, doing your demo. That was amazing. And Ross, yours was great. So informative and such great images. So thank you very much. And thanks to Vanessa Joy for letting us use that image. That was really cool. That whole fireworks thing is, the time and life settings are just weird. I mean, they're just wild.
And that's where it is infinitely possible. But what's cool about it versus like Ross is saying, like a sky replacement.
Right.
Well, you're just replacing that sky. Well, the nice thing with particles is you can make whatever effect you want unique to yourself.
Yep.
Where there's so many options that if you start messing with it, there's really a slim chance that somebody else in the world is going to pick those same settings.
All right. Yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you both. That was really, really great, really informative, very inspiring. we're psyched. So thank you. We really appreciate you coming on and showing everybody that cool stuff. So thank you guys both very much. We sure do appreciate it. Great seeing you both.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, yeah, thanks.
All right. Hey, we've got a discount. Do we have a discount? Am I right about this?
Yes, there's a bit.ly link for the discount code for Smug Mug, which is 20% off.
Oh, okay. All right, Smug Mug.
So then, now the bit.ly link, we'll get a better one next
Oh, no,
show.
that's the best bit.ly link you could get.
But we have a bit.ly link of bit.ly/3, capital A, lowercase j, lowercase I, lowercase f.
Can we get that on screen?
J,
can you
capital L.
type it in or something?
Yes,
it's really,
yes.
Anyway, Smug Mug is apparently offering us 20% off. So, hey, they have a better description of that lens series, this lens series we were talking about earlier. It says it's all about the power of the camera lens to change perspectives, capture memories, and make an impact in people's lives.
Oh,
that's really good. All right, so Eric is going to fire up
Adobe.
Photoshop.
I got to verify stuff. It's
Verifi's membership.
Verify.
All right, so hang on. We're just going to put this link. So this is a 20% off for Smug Mug. And Smug Mug, and I'll just briefly, while we have this moment, I'll just tell you what I was talking about during the conference. So what's nice about having a Smug Mug account is, of course, Smug Mug has templates to put up your portfolio. That's great, right? They have really nice built-in templates. You just upload your images, and your site will look great. But I think the magic of Smug Mug is the printing. They handle the printing for you. So you can say, I want to put these 4 images in my gallery for sale. You get to choose the prices. And they tell you, they give you like, hey, it's, this print is going to cost you $16. And you get to choose whatever price that you want. They don't choose the prices. You get to choose them. You also get to choose which photo lab that you want to use. So you can actually choose, like, I want to use Bay Photo or I want to use MPix or whoever. You get to choose your photo lab. You get to choose the sizes that you want to make available, the substrates they get printed on. I mean, you have a lot of control. And when someone goes and says, yes, I want to buy this print from you, Smug Mug takes over and does it all. They do the printing, they do the handling, and when you're making prints and you're selling them, they better be handled right. They do the shipping, they do the whole 9 yards, and they ship it to your customer. So what is your interaction with Smug Mug? they send you a check.
Yes, great
They
part
do
about it.
all the work, and they send you a check. And what's nice is this. They do an 85-15 split. So you keep 85% of the profits. They keep 15%, right? And then that includes credit card charges. Because, you know, Visa and MasterCard are going to charge you. American Express are going to charge you. That includes those fees. So it's so many photographers are on SmugMug. They're so big they can hire Anton Lorimer to just go do amazing movies. I mean, they're a huge force in this industry.
Another thing about you know, when you talk about, you know, SmugMug and this stuff is that the customer support. So you have the other thing when you're doing the drop shipping.
Yeah.
Like if there is a problem with the print, you're not having to deal with it. If you're printing it yourself, you're having to deal with it.
Yep, and
There's
you're
a
having
problem
to
with the print,
package it.
You just go to the
And you're having to
you go to
ship it.
whoever the lab is, and then the lab handles all that stuff. So that is a great thing that you're not having to handle all that.
Yeah, they take it
and they're
over from
way
there.
better at it. I mean, they get it right every time. you
Yeah,
know?
they're awesome. Anyway, so go check them out and use the code that's on screen to set up your SmugMug account for 20% off, which is pretty good. That's pretty sweet right there. Pretty sweet. And it's a very, very easy Bitly code.
I think
to
by next
remember.
week we'll have something like way shorter, like maybe just.
I think
like
maybe by next week we'll have something that
/
makes more
SmugMug.
sense. Maybe bit.com/SmugMug20 or something would be good. Anyway, but use that for now and share it with your friends. And thanks to SmugMug for offering that. And make sure you go to their site and check out their This Lens series. Anton is a magician. You'll see just amazing and inspiring stuff. Hey, thanks to Colin and Ross and the gang from Boris Effects. That was awesome. That was great. This is one of my favorite episodes. I love
this
seeing
stuff.
this stuff. My mind, I'm sharing everybody else's comments. My mind is officially blown. So me and Tim, we're on the same page. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to our crew here. Thanks to all our sponsors. And we will catch you guys next week right here on The Grid. Take care, everybody.